Your life, your hopes, and whatever you were searching for at 1:15 a.m. It's really none of our business, and it shouldn't be anyone else's. Protect your privacy online for free with DuckDuckGo. DuckDuckGo. Privacy simplified.
CuriosityStream has thousands of documentary films and shows on demand on any device. We're the Netflix for nerds, the Hulu for history buffs, the Disney Plus for the scientist in us. Back to school means getting 25% off annual plans at CuriosityStream. That's a little over $1 a month for thousands of brain-boosting documentaries. Hurry, sale ends Monday.
We got a singer!
Guidance is internal. Ignition sequence start. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Permission to board, please.
Permission to come aboard. Permission to board.
Permission to board.
Do I have some permission to board that sweet mothership?
This is the Permission Granted podcast. Here's DA.
Welcome inside the PGP, the Permission Granted podcast. The show about the show within the show. You can always get this on its own podcast feed. Simply search Permission Granted on your favorite podcast platform and subscribe, rate, and review there. But you can also get it on the normal DA Show podcast feed, which will soon feature Sunday morning football, which begins week 1 of the NFL season. So starting week 1 of the NFL season next weekend, you will get the daily DA Show best of, all 4 hours of the DA Show, Sunday morning football, and the Permission Granted podcast. One-stop shopping for all of the DA in podcast form. So we begin today with Monday's second to last update. I think it was the 8 o'clock hour update when we had on, actually, was it the last update of the day, the 9 o'clock? No, it must have been the 8:30.
No, it was the last update.
It was?
Yes, definitely.
Paul Keels joining us, the voice of the Ohio State Buckeyes. Joining us this morning here on the show for headlines is a kind sir, Andrew Bogish. Bogues, would you just kill to have Paul Keels' pipes? I think we have Bogues here, right? AB? No AB? Okay. All right. Well, should we take a break then and get back to AB after that?
I guess we could do that. He's vanished into thin air on us, DA.
Oh. When we had on Paul Keels, Ohio State voice of the Buckeyes, and he had these amazing pipes, talking to me like this, and great pipes and traditional broadcast voice, and wrap up. And of course, Bogues is a play-by-play voice as well for Fordham football and Fordham basketball, I guess, and Fordham football, and then also Delaware football, at least in the past. And I tossed to him for the update at 32 past the hour, and there's no Bogues. I'm like, hey, wouldn't you kill for pipes like that? And Bogues isn't there. Now, Bogues, because of this whole Watch DA fiasco, this is still not fixed. We're not on camera with one another right now, so we can't see each other. Normally we would. And so I tossed to Bogues. He's not there. I can't see him. So I got to just go to break. We'll see what happens. And we come back, I guess, after the break, which is the final update of the show. And Bogues gets on me for going to him too early.
He
gets on me. Now, here's how the clocks work. We come out of the top of the hour at 00 past the hour. We played open, and we usually get into me talking at approximately 1 past the hour. We're supposed to take 1 past the hour to approximately 15 past the hour. There's a 5-minute break. Then we're supposed to come back at 20, do a 10-minute segment, taking us to 30. And at 30, I'm hypothetically supposed to toss to Bogues. Bogues is a 3 or 4 minute update that gets us to 34. We take another break, 5 minutes, come back, let's say at 40, 39 or 40. Supposed to take that to 54. 54, we then break for the end of the hour commercials. We come back at the top of the hour. That's what's called a clock in the radio business. That's what the clock looks like. Granted, I almost never get to Bogues at 30. Sometimes if I've got to get something into that final segment Then we know we got to hit at 45. I got to have some time. If we have a guest in that final segment, which we always try to avoid, I'll have to get to Bogues at 30. Sometimes we have to move some things around. We've got a guest at 30, so he's going to do an update at 25 past the hour sometimes. But most of the time, I take the first segment long, probably closer to 18 or 19. Then that means the second segment usually gets us closer to 32, 33. And sometimes I'll push it to 38.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I've even pushed to 40. Once I get to 40, it's bad news. Bilotti hates me because then that means there's a 5-minute, there's a 3 or 4 minute update from Bogues, and then a 5-minute break rather. So we would get back at like 51, 52 before 54 break. Bilotti hates that short end of the hour segment.
Yes, he does.
So in this case, though, I honestly thought I had given Bogues enough time because I'm supposed to get to him at 30. Rarely do I, but 32, 33, he's always there for.
Yes.
Bogues comes back to me and blames me for going to him too early.
It is a remarkable turn. And I could tell you he had talked to Connor in what we would call in the radio world down the line. So, talking back to the studio because Bogues is still at home. Connor, we're going to Paul Keels first here. Okay, I'm going to step away, run to the restroom. And then as I had pulled that interview with Paul Keels just to, find out who was right and who was wrong, we clocked the entire interview at 8:48, which meant I knew from the time that interview started when he asked Connor, okay, we're doing this first, he had walked away. You had gone to him nearly 9 minutes after he walked away, and he was multiple blame games, blaming you for going too early, saying that it was only 2 or 3 minutes. What was the interview? 2 questions. Completely wrong there as well. And then his last bomb thrown was blaming the people who have screwed up the Watch DA stream in that, well, if they had this fixed, then I wouldn't be able to see it. How many different people you got to blame other than the fact that you did it? You walked away, you lost track of time.
He did a twofer, though, because he did blame everybody. He blamed me for going to him too early, blamed the wiring, as you said, so we couldn't see him on camera. Then thought the interview was too short, but he did say, but this is my fault, this is my fault, this is my fault. So he did the twofer, blamed everybody else, but did say it's my fault. I'll take the blame on it. But what happened was, we had Paul Keels on at 22 past the hour, I guess it was, 22 or 23. At that point, Bogues walks away. Now, okay, you can walk away at 22 knowing that it's almost always an 8-minute interview. Sometimes it's a 10, could be an 11, but it's always minimum 8.
Right.
He's got to then come back at 30, 31. He's got to. That's a 7-minute break you're taking during an interview. There's no guarantee it's going to go 10.
And not only that, you should be in place to hear the final answer or two in case that's the piggybacking point for a transition. Like you had brought up something about Paul Keels. That's always, there's some kind of natural, not a transmission, whatever you would call it. Transition to go from the interview to that.
So he comes back on the air after we come back from break, and he's like, what was that, like a 2-minute interview? 2-minute interview?
Cringeworthy.
So then you pulled it, and it was 8:48, an almost 9-minute interview. So he says he went to the bathroom. He says he went number 1. This means that Bogues took a minimum 9-minute pee break, but probably more because I came to him and he still wasn't back for a couple of minutes.
Right. It wasn't like you came to him. That's another hidden part about this. You said, well, I guess we'll break. And 10 seconds later, Bogues was like, wait, where is everybody? It took me texting him after we broke for him to say, wait, what's the problem? And he still wasn't at the chair. So that's another 2 minutes. He's gone 10 minutes.
It's a 10-minute pee break. Now, I don't know where the bathroom is in his house compared to where his office is.
Well, it's not down the block.
I can tell you, how long have we been taping Side A? Can you tell at this point?
Yes, 7:43.
His pee break is 3 minutes longer than we've been talking.
Insane. Absolutely insane.
So either he completely messed up a pee break and somehow dilly-dallied for 10 minutes peeing. That's a lot of pee. Or it wasn't a pee break.
Well, it wasn't. I'm sorry that it wasn't. And now now that I think about it, I've been in your house. I've seen your studio office. You have one close enough to the studio.
Right across the hallway.
Right across the hallway. Mine in my basement area, I could throw a tennis ball from my chair and hit the mirror in my bathroom. There have been times I knew we were bumping back in a minute and a half, and I said, I'm going to run to the restroom real quick. And I got back in plenty of time to hear the rejoiner. So how is it He doesn't live in a mansion. He lives in I've seen Bogus' house. It's a nice house, but it's not, give me a break. It's not Tony Soprano's house. I mean, he could get to even if it's on another floor. 10 minutes to go number one? And number one is not something people don't do. We do it multiple times every day. We know the timing of this. To come out in denial that it wasn't a number two, who is kidding who here? Who is kidding who?
It's an open investigation right now.
I think it's open and shut.
We need Detective, what was your name? Detective Meatloaf? Milkshake on the case. Because here's the key. We have 5-minute commercial breaks on the air. If I do a live read for Sleep Number, it's a 4-minute commercial break.
Right.
I know I can get to the bathroom. I exit the studio here. I walk through the newsroom, not far, but through the newsroom. Down half of a hallway to the right is the bathroom. I know I can get it done in 4 minutes. I know if I have a live read. 5 minutes, more than enough time. If you take down the headset, you get up, you go to the bathroom, you do number one, you come back. It's a 3-minute process. I know this from having to be back in that seat to host. It's certainly you can do it in 4, and 5 is a luxury. If you take all 5 minutes, you are really dilly-dallying.
5, somebody has grabbed you in the newsroom and talked to you for 30 seconds where you've tried to hurry up the conversation.
And you're washing hands, you're soaping up, you say hello to somebody, you check the vending machine. Is my favorite salt and vinegar chips in that vending machine? I come back around, I grab something else. 5 minutes, that's 2 minutes more than you need.
Completely.
A 10-minute number one? It doesn't stack up.
And that's the thing. You want to talk about evidence. Do we have the toilet paper down the drain as far as
we don't have the smoking gun.
Right, we don't have the smoking gun.
Don't have the smoking butt.
We don't have the smoking butt. What we have here is simply common sense. And what common sense tells us is he's coming off a very bad diet on a week at the Jersey Shore. He's mentioned numerous donuts. In fact, last night he had a Twitter or Instagram story that featured Mr. Softy ice cream shakes as well.
That, yeah, milkshakes.
It's a lot of dessert, a lot of different bad things going through his body.
Probably some brouhahas.
Right, of course. So the system's all out of whack to begin with. And what you have here is just timing. This isn't something where a judge or a jury would be unfamiliar with the task of going number one. We all are aware of the timing of it. If he went number one, he hit a bump in the road and he's protecting somebody else. A wife doing her hair in the bathroom that won't get out. A kid situation where he said, rather than say I'm distracted by my kids, I'd rather just take the fall that I screwed something up. If it's not a number two, it's a cover-up for something else he thinks is worse than just saying I lost track of time doing number one.
Totally. It's something is amiss here. It just doesn't add up.
Just own that you went poopy doopy doopy. I mean, what is wrong with that? Guys, look, stomach was a mess. I thought I could make it back. And the story would be over, by the way. We wouldn't be doing it on the PGP. We would have a good laugh over it. Oh, okay, Bogus had a moment. And that would be it. But hiding it is only going to make us dig deeper.
His evidence just is very flimsy here.
Shoddy.
His evidence, because also, remember, we come to Paul Keels after a commercial break. So we break at 15. We come out at 20. Let's say we broke at 18 after the first segment. We come out at 23. Here's Paul Keels. Bogues could have went number one during said commercial break.
Yes.
Then come back for Paul Keels and wait through the interview. But instead, he waits through the commercial break, 18 to 23 past the hour. Then here's Paul Keels, then goes, I'm going to go number one now, and it takes 10 minutes.
Yeah, and much like Marissa...
Doesn't add up.
Marissa Tomei was, a tire expert, my cousin Vinny, if we remember correctly, and that really helps win the case there down in Alabama. I think here we would need a body expert, because any body expert would tell you, number ones... It has to be like a lightning strike of rarity that you get hit with. I really have to go number one. I'm out of time to go number one. That is something that builds, and you could almost go number one at any point in the time of the day and force the issue.
Yeah.
A number two surprise that
can strike you.
Strike you. So the point being, yes, if he had to go number one, he could have sensed the number one coming entering the break and not missed any programming and gone during the break. I think he got sucker punched with a stomach situation that he heard the interview, did a wipe of the eyebrow. I know DA takes these a little long. Let me make a run for it. And he got caught quite literally with his pants down. And then instead of just admitting it like I would have done, I mean, we had it happen on a PGP to me, just die on the sword, man. Like, it'll be a little embarrassing, but it does. You know, all you got to do is make us dig now. Don't make us dig. Just admit it. Poopy doopy doopy. That's all.
Something happened. You know, I'm reminded of this story. One of my cousins has a slew of little kids. And one of these little kids, when he was, so this is my second cousin, came out of the bathroom. He went to the bathroom. He was like 3 years old. He went to the bathroom. He went number 2, poopy doopy doopy. And it was messy or clogged or something. So he tried to use a towel to, I think, wipe himself. And then he tried to flush the towel.
Oh.
And then the towel clogged everything up, and then it spilled over the toilet, and everything was all over everywhere. And he came out of the bathroom, and my cousin, his mother, came over, and she said, "What happened? What happened?" And he goes, "Or what's going on?" And he said, "Something happened."
Oh, no.
And I always quote that if there's a really bad situation, something happened. And this is what happened to Bogusch. Something happened where he didn't have to go to the bathroom before Paul Keels. Suddenly he's got to go, and maybe he assumed I would take longer than I did.
Yeah.
But it's not a pee-pee situation.
No, don't lie to us. We know pee-pee situations.
Don't lie to us. He's lying to our face.
How low? Well, not exactly because of the Watch DA situation, as he pointed out. How low does he think of us that he thinks he can get one by us or point fingers or anything?
Especially you, the king of oopsies.
Right. Like, we wouldn't be accepting of a turd dash, for lack of a better term, of course. It's a little embarrassing, yes, but it's something we'd giggle over and we'd be over it. I promise you, 24 hours later, I don't think we would be talking about Bogusch going poopy doopy doopy if he just admitted it.
We would talk about it, I think, on the PGP, but it would be one piece of this side A.
It wouldn't be all of
It's the entire side A. Because it's disrespectful.
It is.
We know it's not number one. The facts don't add up.
It doesn't make any sense. It's a blatant lie.
It's a blatant lie.
It's like telling me Mike McCarthy's a great head coach because he has a Super Bowl ring. It's a lie.
And now, can we ever trust that Bogues is telling us the truth on what's happening back at the homestead?
Well, I think the problem is Bogusch has thrown a lot of grenades in the past, accusing Pete of tipping the scales literally at lunch restaurants, of calling me out or not having my back in our dust-ups and stuff, or Mraz deflects excuses. He is so big to jump on the train of bashing others on the show when it comes to these scenarios that now he's lost all trust. He's deserved everything he has back to him.
Yeah. It's like Mike Glennon throwing another pick six. You don't get the benefit of the doubt anymore.
And by the way, he's about to be on the clock for how long he's taken bathroom in Boise. Fans, listeners, all of this, DA. People are going to be tracking those poopy doopy doopies by Bogusch.
I'm glad you brought this up because now in living color, I'm going to be with him for almost a week. We're going to be on set or in a studio in a foreign land. And he's not going to have the comfort of going to his own home bathroom, going just down the hallway. So what happens then?
It is true. And for better or for worse, you have gotten way used to too used to my transgressions, I guess you would say, on some of these trips. It's a taste of Bogusch here. There's no hiding who Bogusch is now in this situation. And this is not the momentum he wants to head into the postseason with, if you will, to head into this Boise trip with.
Right now, he's naked and afraid. Right now, he's going into Boise. We're going to have tons of fried potatoes, tons. He's going to get tons of beer.
Oh.
He's also, they're trying to set him up with like a craft beer tour because they know he loves craft beer. There's Goldie's breakfast almost every morning.
Yeah.
And Goldie's packs a real punch.
Oh, I know it. Don't I know it?
So come on, he's going to be eating sausage and bacon and biscuit gravy and eggs and home fries during the show after a night of craft beer. And what do you think is going to happen then?
Well, a bigger offensive outburst than I'm sure Boise will have versus Oklahoma State that night.
It's going to be the Statue of Liberty every single segment.
You might just have to call them Chuck Paganos.
So right now he's exposed. Right now he's in single coverage, and we're watching him. On the All-22, we got him circled. Hey, if he gets beat again, we know what's up.
You better make sure that blue turf stays blue.
because they threw the bomb over his head and he got toasted and he
did.
came back blaming everybody for the coverage. You called the wrong coverage. You were supposed to have that guy.
Finger point.
You know,
Knee
and
guy.
it was immediate finger point. Immediate.
This is going to be very ugly for him. I've been Boise. Now you're adding a couple extra days. Long flight home with a stopover, too. I mean, if he's trucking through O'Hare with you, that could get ugly. Could get very ugly.
Is it possible, though, that he didn't have an oopsie? He just got lazy, where he just assumed I was going to take a 12-minute interview and just took his time. Now, it can't be a number one situation.
Well, yeah,
but
I'm not saying
a
that.
lackadaisical number two?
Yeah, sure. I think there could be a lackadaisical number two. You get caught up. He's reading the tennis scores on his phone or something like that. I'm sure. I think there's a lazy two that could, but it was a two nonetheless. I mean, there was a double play turned. In what rush, fashion, or form can be debated, but no, it was not a number one. It was not a lazy one.
It's not a lazy
Not a
one. We
lazy
know
one.
that.
Not a lazy
There's
one.
no lazy one there. It could be a lackadaisical two. It can't be a lazy one. It's either an oopsie or it's a lackadaisical two.
Oh, man. I hope Jeff in Pittsburgh loves this in 8 months when he goes back and listens.
Jeff in Pittsburgh called us on Tuesday's show and said he went back and listened to a podcast from January 2020. Jeff is in Pittsburgh here on CBS Sports Radio. Good morning, Jeff.
Hey, good morning, DA. I was catching up on my PGPs, and I went back to early 2020 when you guys first came to the morning.
Uh-huh.
And on side B of this PGP, a topic came up on disposable toilet seat covers. I entered the restroom, and there was already a red flag, but again, it's an emergency. The restroom was on the outside of the convenience store.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
always a
it's
red flag. that it's
Always a
gonna be
bad
nasty.
sign. Yep.
Yeah. I enter. I hate to say it, this is where I start thinking about you guys. I see the disposable seat cover.
Mm-hmm.
I know I hate to admit this, but Bogish and Marash are dead on. It slips off. You got to punch the hole out in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
So, DA, I ended up just crumbling it up, throwing it away, and I hovered. Do you use the disposable seat cover?
He's catching up on his podcast. Could you imagine going back 18 months to our PGPs?
I don't even know what we'd sound like 18 months ago. Could you imagine listening to this 18 months from right now?
He listened to a podcast pre-pandemic. That's how far back he went.
It's crazy. And by the way, the same topics still exist. Toilet paper, seat covers, hovering, everything.
He listened to a podcast where the Patriots were defending Super Bowl champions.
Wow.
Before the Chiefs even won.
Wow. That's dedication. You
And
can
they-
subscribe to the PGP, by the way.
That's right. So side B, you're getting Connor on this?
Yeah,
stuff?
we got to talk to
Clean
Connor
it
Green.
up here with Connor. He'll
Well-
clean it up. He's classier.
I'm still going to ask him his thoughts on Bogish when he went 2-1. Then we'll get on to some other stuff.
He called himself a connoisseur.
He did.
Of frozen pizza, which I like.
I did like. We're going to get into the Green Party from Tuesday's show because I noticed behind the scenes some stuff that the audience wouldn't have noticed, and I got to ask Connor about it.
You saw
Nervousness.
nerves.
I saw nerves,
You saw rookie nerves.
which is weird. I
You
don't
saw
know.
happy feet in the pocket.
Yeah, I don't know if he's fearing sophomore slump, maybe. I don't know. But I saw nerves, and I need to ask Connor about said nerves.
Happy feet.
Happy feet. Very, very happy feet. Doesn't trust the left tackle.
Oh, no.
We'll see what happens.
Okay, that's side B.
Howdy doody-doo, and welcome on into Side B of the PGP. This is Mraz. How are you? I am joined today, unbelievably, by the creator of the Green Party, Connor Green, on Side B rather than an Andrew Bogish today, who might still be pooping himself. Hello, Connor. How are you?
I am doing good, Sean. How about you?
I am doing well. So let's just start with what was the predominant topic of Side A before I get into what I really want to hammer you about here on Side B, and that is this. Bogish, number one or number two on Monday's show?
If I had to guess, now he'll never admit it, but if I had to make a guess, I would say it's number two, because you would think if you have that sort of urgency to go to the bathroom right at that very moment and you can't wait, it would have to be a number two, because usually a number one can always wait at least a little bit, but when you have to go number two, you have to go number two. And I think the fact that he was gone a little bit longer than he thought was because it was a number two as opposed to a number one.
Yeah, and now the question, though, becomes, as DA just alluded to inside A, Do you think it was a lazy number 2 where he just lost track of time, maybe scrolling the phone or whatnot? Or do you think this was an emergency situation that he just doesn't want to admit, panicked, maybe had to change the underwear, that kind of nightmare scenario that he'd rather just create a web of lies and blame for?
I think it could be a little bit of both. I think it was an emergency situation that he probably thought he could take care of in time. He probably thought he had about 15 minutes. It wound up being a little bit less than that. Probably thought he had around till 35. It came back at 32. So maybe he got in there, checked his phone for a second, didn't realize how long it was going to take, lost track of time. Then he's sitting on the toilet, and then you realize, oh boy, it's, 35 now on the clock. And then when you got the text from you, I'm sure there was a lot of shock from Bogusch.
Yeah, and as we pointed out, something wasn't even brought up on the air. It wasn't as if Bogusch checked in 10 seconds after DA threw the break. He was still missing. So the time length of the interview at nearly 9 minutes still was tracking more minutes. So it's hard for him to, well, when do you ever come to me? Well, you still weren't there at the time you were saying DA comes to you either. That does have to play a big role in it, does it not?
I think, yeah, you would think if he was just going number 1, he would have maybe come back around 35 when DA tossed to him. And then maybe you would have heard a little bit of like ruffling with the microphone or the headset or something, him like just getting back. But I don't think he would have just straight up missed the entire segment, because I think he was going number 2, and he'll never admit it. I don't think ever in his entire life will he admit it, but I think that's what happened. And, sometimes it happens. Sometimes when you have to go number 2, you just have to go.
Speaking of things that cause number 2, frozen pizza. Connor, you stepped up to the plate on Tuesday's show, what was a Trash Tuesday, with another Green Party. This, your top 3 favorite frozen pizzas.
We're all on this planet together, so join Odyssey and find your one thing. While summer is a great time for recycling, some summer items should not be mixed in with your curbside recycling. Items like garden hoses, plastic planters, pool toys, squirt guns, and lawn chairs are generally not recyclable and are best donated to charity. If you have a question as to whether an item can be recycled, look for the recycling triangle and number, usually on the bottom of the product. Join Odyssey, and together, each of us doing one thing makes a greener tomorrow. What's your one thing?
Your life, your hopes, and whatever you were searching for at 1:15 a.m. It's really none of our business, and it shouldn't be anyone else's. Protect your privacy online for free with DuckDuckGo. DuckDuckGo. Privacy simplified.
Odyssey's going back to school, and we've got all the supplies you need, like A+ exclusive music stations and podcasts to help you or your student excel. Wake up and get the school day started with Acoustic Sunrise, the best mix of acoustic pop. Hit the books with Classical Odyssey, passionate classical music to help you focus while you study. Listen to essential school podcasts like Grammar Girl's Quick and Dirty Tips for Better Writing, and be inspired with TED Talks Daily. Get back to school with new exclusive stations, plus all your favorite local radio stations and podcasts on Odyssey.
Now, as we know, Connor Green fancies himself a savant of frozen pizza. Pizza in general, he once ate an entire pie by himself just because he was lonely. And so here he is with his top 3 frozen pizza brands. When I told this to Mraz yesterday, he said, you know what? I'm into that.
All right, DA, and it is true. I am what is known as a frozen pizza connoisseur, or you could even say that I'm a frozen pizza connoisseur.
Waka waka.
The third one is pizza bagels. People might say that's not technically a frozen pizza, but I think those people are mistaken. If it smells like pizza and tastes like pizza, then in my opinion, it's a pizza. It's not a bagel pizza, it's a pizza bagel. And pizza bagels are the underdog of the frozen pizza world. It's the offensive line of the pizza industry in general. Commonly forgotten, easily overlooked, but extremely, extremely important. Pizza bagels are like Manu Ginobili. They don't get a lot of praise, they don't need a lot of praise, but they always deliver when it matters most.
Go get him, Connor!
Number 2 is Totino's Pizza. No toppings, nothing fancy. You're going to want to eat this all natural. And the way to prepare this, they say on the package, to do 15 minutes at 350 degrees, you're going to want to just completely disregard that. 20 minutes at 450 degrees is the key. Then you're going to let it sit in the toaster oven for a few minutes after it's done cooking.
Finally?
And number 1, DA, DiGiorno stuffed crust frozen pizza.
Okay.
Throughout history, great geniuses have revolutionized entire industries. You think of people like Thomas Edison, Alexander Graham Bell, Leonardo da Vinci, Nikola Tesla, Isaac Newton, and now we have DiGiorno. Stuffed crust frozen pizza was thought impossible 10 years ago. DiGiorno stuffed crust pizza is one of the single greatest innovations since Alexander Graham Bell and the telephone.
Go get him, Connor.
I'll admit it, a little bit of a shock, but some valid points when it came to bagel bites. Not a big Totino's guy, but you did close it off big with the DiGiorno. Now, if I peel back the curtain, because what is better on the PGP than peeling back the curtain, you looked to me noticeably nervous all morning long, a lot of pacing, a lot of grumbling to yourself over the Green Party and the anticipation of it. Now, full disclosure, and I just mentioned this, I believe, on side A, when it came to the Green Party, a lot of times when we were working from home, we didn't get to see you. You were back in the studio doing it. So this is the first time I really got a taste of watching, or you've done it when I haven't been here, a taste of watching you prepare for a Green Party. Are you normally nervous before a Green Party? Did I catch you on a rough day? And why the nerves?
I don't think I was really all that nervous. I get a little bit worried sometimes that maybe the stuff I have in there might sound funny in my head, but then when I actually say it out loud, it won't be that funny. I don't always feel that way with all of them, but like this is one of those, because I think my opening line was like, I'm a frozen pizza connoisseur, and you can say I'm a connoisseur.
Yeah, great line.
It's a good,
corny line. And you were quick to press the Waka Waka drop to let everybody know, the listeners know, I get it, corny joke. That's gold.
Right. So at first I didn't have the Waka Waka in there. That came to me like in the break before we went to it, because that's one of those things where in my head it would sound funny, but then you realize, like, I don't know if everybody is going to realize that I know that it's corny. So the Waka Waka, I think, is important. But, you know, sometimes when you write the stuff out, I'm sure you probably had the same with Canadian Bacon over the years, something might sound funny in your head. Like I did one last time I did a Green Party. There was something that sounded funny in my head that wound up not being all that funny on the air. So, you know, sometimes you get a little, not necessarily nervous, but maybe just a little worried that what you think sounds funny on paper might not wind up being the case when you go on the air with it.
That's fair. So would you say that you have more of a sense of, I'm worried things aren't going to come across funny now than when you started a Green Party? We do have a change in management here. We're seeing a lot more young guys like yourself earn opportunities on the air. Is there a heightened sense within you, Connor Green, that maybe you're not trusting, you're getting happy feet, as the A would call them, not trusting your own instincts on comedy because maybe you think more eyes and ears are now on you and you need to outperform other peers?
No, I don't really think so. I think what it is, I do feel I'm more confident now than I was when I first started doing the Green Party, because I'm not always sure like what everybody in the room is going to find funny, which is sort of important, because if I think something's funny but nobody else does, obviously it's just going to fall flat and be terrible. So I do have more confidence now than I did at the very beginning, but like some of them you sort of have to, you know, create a joke out of something, and it's not always easy. When I thought of the idea, like the top 3 frozen pizzas, it's very easy to just be like, well, it's DiGiorno, and it's Totino's, and it's Pizza Bagels, but the tough thing is trying to write something creatively around that would wind up being funny. And every once in a while you feel that, you know, you did something kind of creative, but it might not really land in the end. Like if I compare Pizza Bagels to Manu Ginobili, maybe in my head that's funny, but I don't know if it's going to be great on the air. So it's not really nervousness. It's just like I'm not sure if you guys are going to find that funny like I would.
I would say trust your instincts, Connor. Do not get happy feet, because as you could tell, you basically have come to the point where I feel like you could almost say anything into a microphone on the DA show, and at a minimum, DA is going to find it funny. I know I likely will find it funny, and you are a smash hit with the audience. You're kind of like McLovin in Superbad. Like, no matter how many bad movies he could reappear in after, he's McLovin, and he's always going to be funny. Now, you are funny. Like, that was very funny, the pizza thing, but I would trust your instincts. So let me close with this question as we get inside the mind here of Connor Green on side B. You did this Green Party, and you've done a couple others that happen to fall on top of a Trash Tuesday, where you were also very adamant in your preparation on what you want to trash. There are times I could tell you, me and Pete won't even know what we're trashing until 5 minutes before the segment. Like, all right, I'm going to go with this. You are very prepared for Trash Tuesday. Do you find Green Party days that coincide with Trash Tuesday more difficult than when you just have a Trash Tuesday day or just a Green Party day?
Yeah, I would say it's a little more difficult because if it's just a Trash Tuesday that I'm going to wind up doing, then obviously I'll just focus all my energy into doing a Trash Tuesday, which is a little bit easier to come up with because it's about, a minute maybe,
Right.
a minute 30. So if you just have that to focus on, it makes things really easy. When you have both, it makes things maybe a little bit harder. But in the end, if I have a Trash Tuesday and I have a Green Party, it's only about 6 minutes of stuff, if that, maybe a little bit less than 5 minutes or so. So it makes things a little bit more difficult, but it's not like it's so difficult that, I can't come up with anything. So I would say if it was just a Trash Tuesday, yeah, it would be maybe a little bit easier, but it's not super hard to do both because in the end, a Green Party isn't like a 20-minute long stand-up
It's a
at
Green
the Beacon
Party, though.
Theater.
It's still a Green Party. All right, Connor. Thank you very much for the insight. Again, my words to wisdom to you would be, you're smarter than me already. Trust your instincts. Don't get happy feet in the pocket.
Like Peyton Manning in the playoffs against the Patriots.
And give your linebackers number Twitter account here for everybody to follow you.
It's Connor_Green51.
Connor_Green51. And follow him because he will be producing Sunday Morning Football this year, hosted by DA. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at MrazCBS. Have a wonderful Green Party week, everyone.
On Pod Save the World, we want to be your cheat sheet for global events. My name is Tommy Vitor, and each week, my co-host Ben Rhodes and I break down the biggest stories from around the world. Ben and I both worked on President Obama's national security staff, and we'll introduce you to the activists, politicians, and journalists who can help us understand what's going on around the world, what it means for the United States, and what it's like being inside the White House Situation Room during a crisis.
Listen on Odyssey, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your pods.
The COVID-19 pandemic showed us how a microscopic virus could upend our lives. There is so much out there that we need to understand, but for every threat, there are heroes working at the edges of science and policy to protect us. I'm Dr. Abdul El-Sayed, former Detroit Health Director and host of Crooked Media's America Dissected. Every episode, I talk to the doctors, scientists, culture makers, and policy leaders who are working out new ways to protect us against our biggest threats. New episodes of America Dissected every Tuesday. Listen on Odyssey, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Your life, your hopes, and whatever you were searching for at 1:15 a.m., it's really none of our business, and it shouldn't be anyone else's. Protect your privacy online for free with DuckDuckGo. DuckDuckGo. Privacy simplified.